Good evening, everyone. I'm Archana Sharma, and I'm the founder of Samvedna Care. Since our inception 10 years ago, Samvedna has worked extensively in promoting early detection and diagnosis of mental health issues. We have worked with various age groups, and our mission has been to encourage help seeking behavior and reduce the stigma around mental health. We have a deep domain expertise as well as our digital mental health platform is a small step in encouraging people to come and explore their own well-being and make use of our self-care plans, which are available on our portal. The services which we provide are available for corporates, individuals, families, and we have been working with various decision makers across different organizations, and we understand the challenges which come with ensuring employee engagement as well as employee mental well-being. An employee's mental well-being is not just about his well-being, but it's really the whole ecosystem which is around him or her, which includes his family, his peers, his supervisors, his and his relations with other individuals. So today, this is a series of webinars which we have been doing regularly, and this is really uh, targeted, and it is designed for individuals who are in the workplace. We did one a couple of weeks ago, and I have with me today my team member Saumya. Saumya is a clinical psychologist, and she is also a corporate wellness program manager. So what we are talking about today is practical strategies for your mental well-being. Um, it's the middle of February, and I'm sure a lot of us have made a lot of resolutions and plans when we started the new year. So I think it's a good time to do a checkpoint, and Soumya is going to help us see how we are going to stay afloat and be in control of our goals and have a successful 2024. So I'm also joined with Navya, who is our lead clinical psychologist. Navya, can you just switch on your video? Yeah, hi. And so Soumya and Navya will be enlightening us through their discussion. And I think, Soumya, you do have a small presentation for us as well. So over to you, Soumya, and I'll hand it over to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat window. And we have a lot of questions from the audience. Some of them are very diverse, so we will not be able to take up all the questions, but they are also food for thought for us in terms of designing more programs. And we do hope that, we'll be able to come back to you with more and more solutions and, guidance on these topics. So over to you, Soumya. I'll just put the spotlight on you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and a very good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm very excited to be here. I'm Saumya. I'm a clinical psychologist with Samvedna, and I'm also working on the corporate wellness domain. And today we are going to talk about strategies, very doable, functional, practical strategies, because I think there's a lot of talk around mental health, mental fitness, mental wellness, emotional well-being, but when it comes to what do you need to really do when you get up on a particular day and you want to bring about this change, what is it that you really do? Where do you start? How do you start? How much time do you devote to it? Which area do you choose? So, is it breathing? Do you go to social media? Do you follow the advice of someone? Do you take professional help? Do you start without professional help? So I think there is a lot of I think a lot of confusion and generally a lot of talk around starting practical steps on this journey. So here I am today, and we at Samvedna are going to help you with this. and really help you understand what are some of the small changes that you can incorporate in your everyday life by giving a few minutes of your life to really bring about a sense of mental fitness, a sense of mental well-being in your everyday life, just like we're well aware of what we need to do in order to focus on our physical health. So similarly, we're going to focus on our mental health. Again, thank you for joining us today. I have a lot of questions that I'm going to cover from the participants who've registered and otherwise. Apart from that, I'm going to start with a presentation and just take you through some of the strategies, what work means to us, and how can we bring about a sense of mental health, mental fitness, well-being, bring about a sense of work-life balance, and really just give each one of us a reference point to start on this journey of mental health and well-being. And as ma'am said, that it's the start of the year, and the start of anything requires us to do an emotional stock checking in terms of where are we in terms of our health, in terms of our physical fitness. So I think it's also time we do a stock checking in terms of where are we in terms of our mental health, not for the purpose of just avoiding difficult days, but also to keep a sense of well-being, to have better days ahead, and to be able to cope with the challenges that which are not under our control and life may throw at us. So, without further ado, I'm going to start with my presentation. At any point during the presentation, you have any questions, please feel free to either note it down or, just keep with yourself. And once I'm done with the presentation, I'm going to ask you to either unmute yourself and share it with me or read out from the chat section. So, please bear with me while I start my presentation for today. All right. So turning talk into action. This was one of my favorite aspects because today we're really going to get into the action part of it, the practical part of it, and the implementation part of it. And I think that's way more exciting than the awareness bit of it and the discussion part of it, although both are equally important. All right. So let's break the ice for today and let's get to know each other better as well. I'm going to throw in a question at you, and the question for today is what does your work mean to you? In a word or in a brief sentence, in a line, what does your work mean to you? It could be your passion, it could be your strength, it could be something that makes your life sustainable, anything, and all answers are welcome. So don't worry about judgment here. So on to you. Anyone who would like to answer, what does your work, what does your job mean to you? How would you define it? Okay, we have an answer. It adds meaning and purpose to my life. Thank you. Thank you so much for answering. So it's something that adds meaning and purpose. From Jagjit Kaur, from Nimita Gupta, we have it's passion which makes me confident. Work is your passion which makes you confident. Thank you so much for answering. This is great. We're getting some very authentic answers. Anyone else? What does your work mean to you? It adds that value in your life which makes everything seem more meaningful. It gives you that purpose which drives you to get up in the morning and go through the day. It is that spark of confidence that you need, which stems from your passion. Okay, Anuja Sharma, it's a space which provides me an environment that promotes growth. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else? So it's a space which helps you grow, which helps you become probably a better version of yourself. Anyone else would like to answer and share about what their work means to them? If not, we can proceed. Okay. What does work mean? So we've gotten answers along the lines of it's your passion, it's something that makes you grow, it's an environment which makes you feel like you can be a better version of yourself. It makes you feel confident. it adds meaning and it gives you a purposeful life. Now, one of the reasons for me that I asked this question is that if work means so much to you, if work gives you that sense of passion and that sense of safety and growth and meaning and purpose, why are we not focusing on this aspect of our life in a way that it's probably leading us to burnout? Why are we not able to approach it with a sense of balance? Why are we not able to work and have that sense of passion, yet focus on our mental health and mental fitness? So that's one of the reasons why I asked you this question today. And that's why I'm here today to help you understand how to approach your work, something that's so meaningful and so purposeful and you're so passionate about, to not get you exhausted, to not get you burnt out, but to maintain that sense of meaning and purpose in your life and to maintain that sense of passion in your life. So, how do we maintain that work life balance? How do we approach our sense of mental fitness with some very practical strategies? Now, first of all, what does good mental health look like? You may be wondering, I'm asking too many questions today, but I do want to understand, what do you feel good mental health, what does it mean to you on an everyday basis? When you have a sound good mental health, what are you doing that you're not doing, that others are not doing, or that you're not doing on other days? Good, sound, optimal mental health, what do you think it means? Anyone would like to answer? All right, you can. Okay, we have an answer. It gives you a control over, it's like giving you a control over your emotions. So when you have good mental health, you're able to have a sense of control over your emotions. That's great. That is one of the things that good mental health does mean. So let's talk about our perception of good mental health. Well, a lot of times what happens is when we talk about good mental health, we also have one more answer. It means I'm actually listening to my needs, be it for taking a break or a holiday. That's fantastic. Yes, you are in touch with yourself. You have a sense of awareness. You are in tune with your thoughts, feelings, and needs. Having peace of mind at work and staying focused at your goal at work. All right, this is great. Having a sense of peace and having a sense of focus, concentration. You are able to be in charge of your attention at work. When you can express your emotions through journals. All right, this is an aspect that we are going to talk about. Thank you, all of you, for sharing. Now, one of the reasons that I asked you this question is a lot of times good mental health makes us feel like we need to be positive all the time. We need to be in a very cheerful, happy, joyful state all the time, be positive all the time, have positive thoughts, never get sad, never feel like life is challenging us or it is a difficult day. Well, that's not what good mental health is. And a lot of times we're not able to approach the idea of working on our mental health because we feel that the things, the ideas that I just gave you make it sound so unattainable and so out of reach and so impossible. So, if we talk about mental health, it does not mean that you're living your life without problems or you're happy all of the time. You're just being perfect at home, at work, in your relationships. No, mental health is sometimes you're not okay. Sometimes you have difficult days. Life is still um sometimes stressful, and there are challenges, and it's okay. You still get bothered by it. Mental health does mean you are having a sense of awareness of your thoughts, what you're thinking, how it's impacting the way you feel, how does it impact your choices. You are in touch with your thoughts. You recognize that your mind and body are connected. Sometimes when you're having an overwhelming day mentally and emotionally, it can show up in the form of bodily symptoms or sensations and vice versa as well. Sometimes when you're not doing okay physically, it can have an impact on your emotional well-being. And also understanding that you have a control over it, it is workable, and you can actually develop a wellness toolbox, which we are going to talk about today. Wellness toolbox. What is a wellness toolbox? Well, some coping strategies that you can develop for yourself and equip yourself with to deal with the challenges, to navigate through the difficult aspects of life and the difficult emotions that life sometimes comes with. Now, while we talk about these strategies and turning talk into action, it's very important to understand how things work, how our brain works. Our brain being one of the most important assets, most valuable resources that we have, something that helps us to think, to feel, to survive, to take decisions, to work every day, to learn, memorize. So, how does our brain work? Because when we understand how our brain works, we'll be able to really understand how to navigate through a path of developing a coping mechanism or a coping toolbox for ourselves. Well, over the years, as you've noticed, the human race and the human species, we've gone through a lot of adverse situations. We've gone through natural disasters, man made disasters, continental shifts, pandemics. Well, we're still in the middle of one right now. We've gone through all of this, yet we've survived. We've not just survived, we're thriving. So, what this has led to is that our brain, as a result of going through so many adverse, transitions, our brain has been trained for survival. We have a part of our brain that is overactive called the fight or flight response. That means we're always ready to prepare ourselves for the next disaster that might happen, the next difficult thing that might happen, the next danger that might be around the corner, whether or not it may be. So we're always over prepared, even though we're not required to be a lot of times. Now, what it leads to is it makes us focus so much more on the things that could go wrong, or the what ifs, or the things that are going wrong, to the extent that we have a negativity bias. It takes almost three positive things to negate the effect of one negative. We're wired so as human beings. So don't worry, it's not just you who's focusing on the negatives. We're wired like that. We tend to focus on the things that could go wrong and not focus on what is going right, or right now everything is okay. So this negativity bias and overstimulated survival response has made us prepared for survival, but for a sense of happiness, well-being, and mental fitness, we need to train our brain. We need to really work towards it. And I know it may sound like you really have to work towards being happy, but it's not that difficult. If you know where to start, if you know that you need to be consistent, and you need to just introduce small baby steps in your daily life and train your brain towards it. So, what are these steps that we're talking about, and what are these strategies, and how do you develop a mental wellness toolkit for yourself to have a sense of balance in everyday life? Now, one of the things that I really like is the joy of doing nothing. So, I'm going to ask you one question. When was the last time you remember doing absolutely nothing? And when I say nothing, it means no texting, no sleeping, no talking, no planning about the future, no thinking about the past, just being present and trying to focus on the present moment. When was the last time? Even if I get one answer, that's fine. You remember doing absolutely nothing. Yes, we have an answer. Never. Right. Thank you for being honest. Yes, sometimes when I ask this question to people, a lot of times people come up to me and say, how can you not do anything? It just sounds so difficult. Yet it is something that acts as nourishment, as the much needed food to nourish your mind, which is our most valuable resource. So there is a psychologist called Brené Brown who writes extensively about human emotions and nourishing the mind and about emotional wellness. And well, she gave the idea of not doing anything. Sometimes when in life we're doing so many things, we're managing so many things, our attention is onto so many diverse aspects of life that we get overwhelmed and our mind feels overwhelmed and we feel exhausted. So, before we reach that, and even otherwise, it's important that we take out, even if you're able to take out 2 minutes of your everyday life, probably set a timer, but take out a couple of minutes every day, put the phone away, and just try to focus on being present, not doing anything. The practice of nothing. I sometimes ask my clients to do it in therapy as well, and it works wonderfully, as is also supported by research. So take out those 2 minutes, probably put a timer, and start to practice doing nothing. Moving on, pause and denormalize. We forget that in life we're always running around and it's so fast paced and there's so much to do and so much to manage that there is actually a pause button that we have, which is in our control, and it won't mean that things would come crashing down or things will stop forever. You're just taking a break and you're just trying to be with yourself and center yourself. So, how can you practice this in your everyday life? Well, probably put a reminder for yourself, maybe a couple of times a day. Or if not, if you're feeling too overwhelmed, just remember there is a pause button which is there in your hands. And when you press that button, all you have to do is walk away from whatever you're doing in that moment and denormalize the hustle, denormalize the overwork that we sometimes feel so compelled to glamorize. So press that pause button, step away from what you're doing, take a couple of minutes, maybe check in with yourself, check in with your breath, and just tell yourself that you can always re enter. But right now, this is the pause button. And just like a pause button temporarily stops things and allows us to catch a breath, you can do this for yourself also. So remember, there is a pause button for life. You can pause, step away from what you're doing, ground yourself, probably ground yourself with your senses. I'm going to also talk about a grounding technique. Check in with your breath. How is my breathing right now? What am I thinking? What am I feeling right now? What do I need in this moment? What is something that I need and which could really help me? Remind that to yourself and then step back in. Moving on, there is another technique which is called name it to tame it. Well, what it essentially means is, in terms of our emotions, in terms of our feelings, when we're really talking about strategies to work on our mental health, to have a work life balance, to work on our well being, when it comes to our feelings, there is an activity, there is a technique that you can do every day, which is to get in touch with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I'm feeling right now in this moment? Because when neuroscience says, when you're able to recognize your emotion, acknowledge it, and name it to yourself, what happens is that the problem solving part of your brain becomes active and it gives you the way forward. It allows you to think about how to go about that situation, especially if it's a difficult feeling. So let's practice it right now. Name it. Let's name our emotions. So I'm going to ask you to just check in with yourself for the next few seconds. And there may be probably many emotions, but what's the most dominant emotion you're feeling right now? What is it that you're feeling? And it can be anything. It can be bored, sleepy. Anyone who'd like to share what you're feeling right now? Calm, tired. Just check in, stressed, okay, relaxed, exhausted. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, we have some feelings right here. Sad. I'm sorry. But thank you for sharing, and I'd like to hold this space for all of these feelings. What happens is sometimes we're very quick to fix the feeling for others and for ourselves, and just quickly give something so that the feeling can change. But sometimes it's about holding space. So, for all those who shared, thank you so much. So, once you're able to name it, name the feeling, probably have a feeling chart in your workspace or in your bedroom or the part of your house where you spend a lot of time and you reflect. And each day, just sit there and look at the chart and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Because emotional awareness leads to a better sense of mental health, mental fitness, and it also leads to better problem solving skills. So you'll probably also have a view of the way forward with your feelings and the situation that you're in. All right, moving forward, reflection, what I call the fantastic five. It's very important that we give ourselves space and time for regular reflection, which can be through journaling, which can be through just sitting down with yourself every day and doing a stock check of the entire day and asking yourself a few questions while you reflect on those questions and answering them. If you look at these five questions that are there in front of you, these are about covering a lot of different aspects that can help you build a better sense of mental health on a particular day and overall eventually. So the first question is about developing a sense of gratitude on a particular day. What are you grateful for? And it can be anything. It doesn't have to be huge or large or massive or very celebratory. Sometimes on a hot day, that cold glass of water, or on a very cold winter day, that warm cup of tea is something that made your life better, easier, probably more comfortable. So, what are you grateful for today? The second question is about social connection. It's very important that we seek social connection. We're always maintaining or reaching out to the people around us, whether at home, family, friends, co workers, at workplace, in your environment, in your neighborhood. Because a better sense of social connection also enhances a sense of well being, also leads to mental fitness, a stronger, more optimal sense of mental fitness. So ask yourself, who did you check in on today? Who did you probably call today or at work asked, how are you doing? Or who did you connect with today? It can be people from your everyday life, it can be people who you don't connect with often. Both work. But if you're able to reflect on that on an everyday basis, and probably write down in a journal or a diary, or even to even discuss with yourself, you don't need to write it down always. That's fine. But of course, writing is a game changer. What expectations are you letting go of today? And remember, it's okay if you don't let go of expectations every day. That's fine. You're still doing okay. It's small changes when they start small, and when you're able to really be committed, even though there is no outcome every day, it's fine. So, what are you able to let go of expectations today? If not, that's fine too. But at least you're reflecting with yourself. How are you going to center and replenish yourself? What is one thing you're going to do or you did today which made you feel nourished? Maybe you reached out to someone for help. Maybe you said something comforting to yourself. Maybe you did something which made you feel comfortable. Maybe you reached out to someone who made you feel cared for and gave you the much needed support, or you did that to yourself. So, how did you center and replenish yourself today? How are you ensuring movement for yourself? Physical movement, physical self care. As I said, the mind and body are connected. When we're able to feel energetic, calm, and centered in our body, that also reflects in our emotional health and well being. So, what did you do today that gave you some movement? Maybe you went, it doesn't have to be elaborate, it doesn't have to, you don't have to always go to the gym and work out. But maybe you took the stairs instead of the lift. Maybe you started your journey of physical self care today, and that's fine too. Maybe you went out on a walk. Maybe you walked till your house, or you walked till a certain destination today. So these are the fantastic five. And if you can give yourself time and space for reflection through these questions every day, it's going to be great. So, implementing change. Remember, one thing about change is there is no one size fits all approach. Whatever works for you in whatever capacity, in whatever intensity and frequency, if you want to start with 2 minutes of checking in with your emotions, 2 minutes of just checking in with your breath, the grounding technique. One of the things that I was asking you, power of the present, that's also there on the screen, grounding technique. How do you ground yourself to the present? Well, the easiest way is using any of your sense organs, maybe sense of sight, sense of hearing, and tune in with that. So, for example, if I use my sense of hearing, what are the sounds that I can hear in this moment? What are the things that I can hear in this moment? Maybe different sounds, two, three sounds. Then it allows me to stay present by making my sense of hearing as the anchor. What are some of the things that I can see around me? Maybe choose a color, that maybe blue color. What are some of the things around you that are blue in color, right? What are some of the things that you can smell in this moment? Something that you can touch and feel the texture of. Ask yourself, is it cold? Is it warm? Is it rough? Right? So that is the power of the present, which is the through the grounding technique. So individual approaches, whatever works for you at whatever time of the day, in whatever capacity. Remember, it needs to work for you and align with you. Change needs to be more private than public. Remember, you're doing this for yourself, for your own mental health and well-being. Doesn't need to be announced as long as you're doing it and it's helping you. If you are a cup, you're giving out of your self every day to your family, to your friends, to your work, to your colleagues, to your children, to your partners. So remember, sometimes you have to fill your cup too, because you can't give out of an empty cup, and you're the one who has to fill your cup most of the times. And it's not sad, it's okay. It gives you a sense of power and control. So, how are you filling your cup? What did you do today which helped you be more present, which helped you be more grounded and centered? What is one practice that helped you nourish your mind? How did you give that support to yourself? How did you give that comfort to yourself? How were you not harsh to yourself? Right? So, knowing that these are changes that you can bring about, and it just takes a few minutes, and you just have to start with really small baby steps, and you don't have to give hours every day. What are you waiting for? Also understand, why are we waiting for something to impact us on an adverse or a larger level? We can just start right away. Right? So just like we take a plunge towards our physical health, right? Where I'm going to work on my body, I'm going to work on my sense of stamina and strength. Why not start today and not wait for anything to work on your mental fitness and mental well-being? All right. So before I end this presentation with a food for thought and start answering your questions, I'd like to shoot a poll, and I'd like you to answer that poll. So the poll is right there in front of you. The poll question is, how much time do you devote specifically to work on your mental health and fitness? Just on your mental health and fitness? Is it every day? Is it few times a week? Is it few times a month? Or is it occasionally? Please take your time to answer the questions. And once we are done, we're going to look at the answers. Are you doing it every day, few times a week, few times a month, or occasionally? If not, we can always start. It's never too late to start. There's a reason why you're attending this workshop. So once you've done answering, we'll stop the poll and just present the answers. Okay, so we have the answers in front of us. Every day, 33%, few times a week, 17%, occasionally 50%. All right. So we have people who are probably more people who are doing it occasionally, not very regularly and consistently, but thank you for being honest. There's a reason why you're attending this today because you want to do something about it. So maybe this is a good start. You know where to start, you know what to do. You can take a few minutes and start right away. I'll leave you with this food for thought question, that what is one change you can make in your daily life, probably from today or tomorrow, to take action for your mental fitness. And with this, I stop sharing the presentation and over to you, Navya.
Thank you, Saumya, for sharing the effective actionable strategies. Yes, I'll request all the participants to leave their questions in the chat. We would be taking it simultaneously as you're leaving the questions. Soumya, I would want you to, suggest our audience how they can incorporate self-care into their, daily routines.
Right. Thanks for the question, Navya. So, when we talk about self care, first of all, remember that it's not just at the surface level. Self care, according to research, according to a lot of studies, goes way beyond that. And studies say there are at least five types of self care that you can do and start with right away on an everyday basis. And these are physical, emotional, social, cognitive, and practical. Physical self care is about ensuring you have good nutrition, you're giving yourself adequate sleep, adequate rest, hydration. You're listening to your body. You're listening to, when you want to rest or when you're feeling energetic. You're tuning into your body. Social self care is about reaching out to people in the social domain, whether it's people at work, whether it's extended family, friends, people in your neighborhood, or just the your neighbor or people who stay close by, people who don't just interact with every day and otherwise also. Emotional self care is when you're giving yourself an outlet to process and express your emotions. Could be by talking to a person, your partner, through a journal, or just expressing to yourself. Practical self care is when you do things which we all don't like to do but are necessary and good for us, like planning a budget, planning your day, organizing your workspace, probably cleaning your closet regularly. Cognitive self care involves practices that you do in order to help your brain feel challenged and stimulated, like puzzles, art, Sudoku, memory games, all of that. So, yes, that's about self care. So, we need to take out time to focus on small practices of self care on a regular basis. All right. So, I see there is a question. I'll I'll read out and take the question.
Sure.
Okay. So, we're often multitasking, and also there's a series of both personal and professional cracks that need constant repair. At times, we are unable to accept reality in personal life. Right. Yes. First of all, thank you for sharing. I think a lot of times Multitasking, I think it's more about our attention being divided onto so many things, and it needs to be divided onto work, onto our personal life, and some things in life require our sense of acceptance, and it may be difficult, and that's where I'd like to probably say that, seeking professional help is important, and reaching out to people is important. But more than anything, it's also important to understand that sometimes you have to stay with the discomfort of it. The only way out of difficult emotions is through them. um, and what is not in your control, you sit with that difficult emotion, you stay with it, it'll be there for some time, but it'll also leave, and life will probably not be the same, but it'll still be worth living. Right. Another thing, thank you so much. When we're talking about, I was also answering a question about self-care. At Samvedna, we have a tool that we can equip you with, which is called the MAP. Navya has just put the link for the same in the chat section, and this helps you to get equipped with, at least to assess and evaluate where you stand on the self-care domain, and how can we help you help yourself to give a way forward, to give a direction to yourself in terms of what are the things you need to work upon, and how can you move forward with us. So please feel free to take the self-assessment from Samvedna map at Samvedna. The link is right there in the chat section. And see for yourself, when you know where you are, you know what to work on.
Thank you, Soumya, for sharing, different types of self-care and how we can engage, and make it as a part of our routine. I would also like you to share some tips to effectively balance, work life.
Right. Thank you for the question, Navya. Yes, work-life balance is also understand that it's not a destination. What I feel, it's more of a journey. It's a constant work in progress. So it's not that one day you wake up and there is work-life balance. It's going to be a constant work in progress. But there are certain things that you can, of course, incorporate and introduce into your daily life, especially now when you're working from home or you have a hybrid, kind of work setting where you're also at home. Try to have a sense of morning routine, um, especially on the days that you're working from home, because it helps to get you into a working mindset and also prepares you for the day ahead. So try to start your day with a morning routine as you're doing it on the days that you go to work. Take regular breaks. It's very important to, while even if you're at office or working from home, to get up and move around and give yourself some movement, and you're taking some break emotionally, socially, and cognitively. Or maybe just go out for a, maybe just you need that coffee or that little bit of laugh. It's going to replenish you. Stay connected with people, stay connected with, just because you're working doesn't mean that you're not allowed to do other things. You can stay connected with people at work, you can stay connected with family, you can just check in with a quick call to check in with, people that you care about. So stay connected, it's going to replenish you and help maintain that sense of work life balance. It's very important to know when to ask for help. If you feel things are getting a bit too much, or it's leading to a sense of burnout or exhaustion, remember it's okay, or you're getting too stressed, remember it's okay to communicate. So see who you can approach, probably at work, and ask for help, or at home if things are getting difficult, who can you ask for help and talk about it, that you know what, I need help. Sometimes we don't talk about things because we feel others around us would understand automatically, but we need to talk about it and really ask for help when things are getting too hard. Don't be very hard on yourself. Some days you mess up, some days you do make mistakes, and that's all right too. Some days you may need more support than other days, and that's fine. Establish some boundaries for yourself. Sometimes when you need to focus on yourself, when you need to listen to your body, when you need that rest, you need that rest. Maybe saying no, may feel difficult, but you need to start somewhere. Another thing is, I think, just a regular sense of certain control pockets, what I say. Um, Maybe some self-care aspects, just practicing the joy of doing nothing for a couple of minutes, or just grounding techniques or reflection will help you not feel depleted and just help you maintain a sense of work-life balance. So these are some of the things that I would recommend.
Great. Thank you for sharing this, effective tips to, balance our work life. But you did mention about, creating the social connection, reaching out to the people. There's always a role of social connection in mental health, we all are curious to know about. So I would like you to emphasize the importance of social connection for improving, our mental well-being or emotional well-being.
Right. Yes, I'm glad that you brought this up, Navya, that we're social beings. We are wired to live in a, community, in a place where we feel accepted, we feel belong, we feel connected. It's very important, just like physical exercise is important for our health. So maintaining and seeking regularly seeking social connections is equally important. I mean, we saw the impact of lockdowns on our mental health and well-being, where there were very limited opportunities to connect with other people. So there's a lot of research that supports this aspect and this fact that when you're connected with people, when you're able to not just, and it's not necessary to have like very close friends or very strong bonds, even if you're meeting people, you're just exchanging pleasantries, or you're checking in with that neighbor, or you're checking in with a, with a long lost friend, or someone who you go to park with, and just exchange a nod or a smile, it just does something to the neural circuitry in your brain, and it just leads to a better sense of well-being. Another thing is that, how we talk about exercise is important, meditation is important, taking breaks is important. It's very important to understand that when it comes to social connections, you'll have to take the initiative on most occasions, right? Even though it may not lead to a friendship, it may not lead to a connection or a bond, but it will give you some valuable experience which will help you in your journey of mental health and fitness. So it's as important as anything else to stay connected with people, to talk to people, to value connections, to do things together, or to just go to places or find opportunities where you can meet more people, or you can just be around people. So that's on certain days, maybe you feel worn out, or maybe you feel very exhausted. So you don't have to talk always, but you can still do things which allow you to be around people. So I can't emphasize the importance of social connections enough in terms of mental fitness and well-being.
No, thanks, Soumya, for sharing this. There's a question from the participant: how we keep our mental state, well focused while keeping a work-life balance.
Right. One of the things that I would recommend for this is regular mindfulness practice. So now I'll just tell you, when we talk about mindfulness and meditation, well, mindfulness is the beginning. Meditation is a huge umbrella term, and mindfulness is the beginning of it. It's basically training your attention. It's being in the driver's seat of your attention and your focus. So how you do that is that you take regular, maybe a couple of minutes, even 1 minute every day, where you just focus on one of your sensory functions. Like I was talking about the grounding technique. So focus on one of the aspects of probably your breathing, probably the sounds that you can hear in the present moment. Let's say you're focusing on the sounds. So, what are the things that you can hear in the present moment? So, you close your eyes, you listen to the sounds. Now, what happens is a lot of people give this up because they feel they're getting distracted. Their mind, their focus, their concentration got distracted from this. That's the thing. It's okay to get distracted. It's normal and usual to get distracted. So don't be startled. Every time you do get distracted, you can bring your focus back to the anchor that you're using to stay grounded, which is, for example, the sounds or your breath. So I got distracted. I asked myself, where is my attention? Where does it need to be? Maybe I'm focusing on the sounds that I can hear right now. Let me bring it back. Every time you bring it back, it's like exercise for the brain. It's like your attention muscle just got more strengthened. So, probably practicing this in your everyday life is something that will help you focus and concentrate better while also not feeling overwhelmed at work.
Mhm. Okay, that's great. You know, everyone is keen to know how to, keep our mental state balanced, even, while maintaining the work-life balance. Moving ahead, we have another question: how to improve mental health, self-discipline, and confidence?
Right. Um, well, we talked about a lot of strategies today. We talked about giving yourself time for reflection, checking in with your feelings, doing a feeling check, name it to tame it, taking a pause, taking regular breaks, grounding yourself, um, the power of staying in the present moment, filling up your cup, nourishing yourself, self care. I think these are things, if done even in small amount, I mean, not so much time given, but even if you're doing it for a couple of minutes, a minute every day. Now, how do you stay consistent? One of the things is that we feel जब motivation आएगा तब करेंगे. When I feel like doing it, I'm going to do it. And sometimes that feeling doesn't come, or it comes, it stays, and it fizzles away. And then we again wait for the feeling. The thing about staying disciplined or motivated is that the feeling is not going to come first. That's what we get wrong. We have to start with the action first. We have to start taking the action, even if on days when you don't feel like doing it. When you take the action, you stay regular and consistent. It leads to, it forms a sense of, it builds a tempo. And with that, the feeling good part, the motivations part starts to build in again. Before you know, you want to do it. So you start with the action first, motivation will follow. That's how you stay disciplined. That's how you stay consistent in your journey of well-being. It's something like, physical fitness. You start exercising, you do it for a few days, and then you feel like, I don't feel like doing it. When I want to do it again, I'll do it. Well, the feeling of wanting to do it may not come first. You need to keep doing it for the feeling to come and for you to crave, want to do it again. So that's how we maintain a sense of discipline and consistency.
Mm-hmm. That's that's good. These are like effective enough. There's one last question that I would like to take up in today's session. There's a question कि मुझे ज़्यादा गुस्सा आता है, एंग्जाइटी रहती है, ड्रिंक के बाद, ड्रिंक करने के बाद. Soumya, can you address this?
Okay, sure. Um, I think we're talking about a few things here: gussa, anxiety, and drinking, all of that. So let's take each one of them. When we're talking about drinking, remember, drinking in itself is not always the problem. It's a means to cope with the problem, it's a means to solve the problem. We are trying, drinking gets us into an altered state of consciousness. And sometimes it's okay, it's your personal choice. But if you're doing it to drown the discomfort that you're feeling because of something, because of some aspect of your life, maybe you need to address that first instead of trying to drown, trying to just lose yourself in the drinking process. Because it's very important that you're solving the problem and not just looking at a means to solve the problem, to cope with the problem. So whatever support you need, whatever help you need, just sit with yourself or probably sit with your loved ones and talk about, this is what I'm dealing with and I need help, and this, or I need to work on this, or I need your help in this, or reach out to a professional. So that's the thing about drinking. Another thing about drinking is that overall, sometimes people say that I drink and I feel good. It may make you feel like that, but in the longer term, in the larger picture, क्या होता है that drinking एक डिप्रेसेंट होता है. ड्रिंकिंग ओवरऑल हमें इट लीड्स टू डिप्रेशन, जो हमें एक मेंटल हेल्थ कंसर्न, जहाँ पे हम ज्यादा उदास रहते हैं और फिर ज्यादा खुश होना मुश्किल होता है. सो ड्रिंकिंग आपको थोड़ी देर के लिए तो अच्छा फील कराएगा, बट इन रोज रोज आपको ज्यादा टुवर्ड्स डिप्रेशन पुल कर सकता है, या रेगुलरली आप करें तो आपको टुवर्ड्स डिप्रेशन पुल कर सकता है. तो ड्रिंकिंग एक तरीका है प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने का, एक कोपिंग का तरीका है, मैल अडेप्टिव, जो हेल्दी नहीं है. तो पहले प्रॉब्लम को देखा जाए और फिर कोपिंग को देखा जाए. दूसरी चीज थी एंजाइटी और एंगर. एंगर के लिए मैं ये बोलना चाहूंगी दैट हम सबको गुस्सा आता है. एंगर, टू फील एंग्री, एंग्री फील करना, गुस्सा फील करना इज ओके. सारे इमोशंस आर, देयर इज नो गुड और बैड इमोशंस. हर इमोशन फील करना ठीक होता है, बट आप गुस्से में क्या करें, गुस्से में आप कैसे रिएक्ट करें या रिस्पॉन्ड करें, वो सही और गलत होता है. तो गुस्सा आना, गुस्से को अगर आप हटा रहे हैं कि नहीं नहीं मैं अपना माइंड डिस्ट्रैक्ट कर दूंगा और कुछ और करूंगा और ड्रिंक करने लगूंगा, तो उससे आपका गुस्से की प्रॉब्लम कभी सॉल्व नहीं होगी. और गुस्सा आना प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. आप गुस्से में कैसे, अगर दूसरों को हार्म कर रहे हैं, खुद को हार्म पहुंचा रहे हैं, दूसरों को हार्म पहुंचा रहे हैं, या किसी सामान को भी हार्म पहुंचा रहे हैं, तो वो सही नहीं है. तो जरूरी है कि आप किस चीज से गुस्सा आ रहा है वो ट्रिगर्स देखें, और आप कैसे रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे हैं. उन दोनों के बीच में जो टाइम रहता है ना, उस टाइम को हम बढ़ाएं. कैसे बढ़ाएं? कुछ कामिंग स्ट्रैटेजीज से, कुछ ग्राउंडिंग टेक्निक से, जैसे मैंने बोला रेगुलर माइंडफुलनेस स्ट्रैटेजीज से, जिसमें हम अपने ब्रेथ पे ध्यान दे रहे हैं या अपने इमोशंस पे ध्यान दे रहे हैं. उससे क्या होता है कि थोड़ा समय मिलता है सोचने का कि अभी मुझे गुस्सा आ रहा है, पर मैं इस गुस्से पे कैसे रिस्पॉन्ड, कैसे रिएक्ट करना चाहता हूँ. तो दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट. और एक और चीज एंजाइटी को लेकर ये होती है कि एंजाइटी में क्या होता है कि हमें उस समय अगर बोला जाए कि नहीं घबराओ मत, घबराने की कोई बात नहीं है, तो वो उतना हेल्प नहीं करता. उस समय आपको ये जानना है कि किस चीज से आपको सूद, थोड़ा कंफर्टेबल लग सकता है, और साथ साथ आप कुछ ऐसा प्रैक्टिस करें जिससे आपकी बॉडी जो है वो रिलैक्स स्टेट में आए, क्योंकि एंजाइटी और रिलैक्सेशन साथ में एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर सकते. तो आप धीरे धीरे रिलैक्सेशन प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, रेगुलर ब्रीदिंग टेक्निक प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, रेगुलर ब्रीदिंग टेक्निक प्रैक्टिस करेंगे. जैसे आप लंबी सांस लेंगे. एक टेक्निक होती है 4-4-6. 4 काउंट्स के लिए सांस अंदर लें, 4 काउंट्स के लिए सांस को रोकें, और 6 काउंट के लिए सांस को मुंह से बाहर निकालें. अगर आप इसको 1 से 1.5 मिनट तक करेंगे तो आपकी बॉडी काम होने लगेगी. बॉडी जब काम होने लगती है तो हमारा मन भी शांत होने लगता है. ये होता है माइंड बॉडी कनेक्शन. और तब आप खुद से पूछ सकते हैं कि किस चीज से मुझे घबराहट हो रही थी. मेरे मन में कुछ थॉट आया, उससे घबराहट हो रही थी, लेकिन थॉट सच्चाई नहीं होती है. थॉट सिर्फ थॉट होता है. हम कभी कभी घबराते हैं क्योंकि हम अपने किसी थॉट को सच मानने लगते हैं. तो आपको ये कि जस्ट बिकॉज आप कुछ सोच रहे हैं, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि वो सच है. ऑलराइट, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन है, lately I have stress, I am driven to fall in grip of fear so much so that I think of taking extreme steps, panic attack, PTSD kind of situation. How to cope situation takes me to that point. Thank you for sharing. One of the things that I would say, if things are feeling so overwhelming, जैसे आपने extreme steps को mention किया है, I would recommend taking help, seeking out professional help to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, because it will help you in at least getting to a state, at least आप इस state में आ पाएंगे कि आप जो मैं आपको strategies बताऊं वो आप कर पाएंगे. सो उसके लिए वो क्राइसिस इंटरवेंशन जो इस सिचुएशन में आप फील कर रहे हैं उसको मैनेज करना इम्पोर्टेंट है. सो पहला तो मैं ये बोलूंगी कि प्लीज रीच आउट टू mental health professionals. Samvedna is there, so you can always reach out to us. Sorry, the other thing is, जैसे आपने बोला कि आप बहुत स्ट्रेस से डील कर रहे हैं, पैनिक अटैक्स हो रहे हैं, कैसे कोप किया जाए. इट्स वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट आप कुछ छोटे छोटे प्रैक्टिसेस इंट्रोड्यूस करिए अपने एवरीडे लाइफ में, जिससे आपको थोड़ा, बिकॉज आपके क्वेश्चन से मुझे लग रहा है दैट आप वो सेंस ऑफ कंट्रोल बिल्कुल नहीं फील कर पा रहे हैं. तो जिससे आप थोड़ा थोड़ा सेंस ऑफ कंट्रोल फील कर पाएंगे इन योर एवरीडे लाइफ, आप अपने थॉट्स पे काम कर पाएंगे. सो धीरे धीरे कुछ स्टेप्स लाइए. जैसे एक मैंने आपको बताया था, प्रैक्टिस ऑफ डूइंग नथिंग. दिन में कुछ समय लीजिए, 2 मिनट 1 मिनट ही सही, जिसमें आप कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं और अपने अपने साथ बैठ रहे हैं, अपने थॉट्स के साथ बैठ रहे हैं, और अपने आप को समय दीजिए. इस इन चीजों का इम्पैक्ट होने में समय लगता है, उसको प्रैक्टिस करिए. जिस चीज से भी आप डील कर रहे हैं, आप अपने आप को याद दिलाइए कि थोड़ा आप उससे अपने आप को पॉज दे सकते हैं. अपने ऊपर पहले काम करना इम्पोर्टेंट है, आप तभी वापस उस सिचुएशन में जाएं. दूसरों से कोई भी आसपास है जिससे आप हेल्प ले सकते हैं, और हेल्प का मतलब है कि कोई आपको अलग फील करने में शायद नहीं हेल्प करेगा, लेकिन वो आपके साथ बैठ सकता है जब आप अपनी बात बताएं. तो वो कनेक्शन इम्पोर्टेंट है. अपने ब्रीदिंग पे बहुत काम करना इम्पोर्टेंट है. हम इसको बहुत कम वैल्यू देते हैं, बट बहुत बार सबसे पहले जो इम्पैक्ट होती है पैनिक में, वो हमारी ब्रीदिंग होती है. So just focus on your breathing. Take small breaths in and large breaths out, and keep practicing for a minute. It will help. And just follow these strategies and reach out to a professional. I think we've already run out of time. So if you have any questions, please reach out to us, or probably write it in the chat section. We'll definitely get back to you. But I guess I've answered
Yes.
questions.
Yes, Saumya, you have answered all the questions, and thank you. Thank you, Saumya, for sharing your valuable insights that we all can incorporate into our daily lives. Just to summarize, I know we are running out of time, but I just want to summarize what we have discussed so far. Doing nothing, taking short breaks throughout the day, setting the boundaries, and recognizing our own emotions. And lastly, mindfulness was a recurring theme. So if we all can take out little time out and focus on our breath, that can bring a sense of calmness, and will help us to be in the present, so that in our hectic lives. So these are like really, the effective strategies that you have shared. Thank you, Soumya. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. I hope these strategies are helpful.
Thank you, Saumya. And Navya, thank you for this very enlightening session. I hope we all will have certain key strategies to take away. For me, I think the best strategy I'd like to take away is doing nothing. Let me see if I can find the time for that. But yeah, I'm to say it's amazing, how when you articulate it, then you start connecting the dots, and you realize that um, simple things, but we never think of it like this, and these can help us take care of our mental well-being as a first step. I know there were a lot of questions, and I think we could not take all of them. So you can please, anyone wants to reach out to Samvedna Care. Saumya is also available. Navya is available. We have other psychologists as well. Please feel free. I have shared the link in the chat window. And I would request you all to do try out the self-assessment tool. It's a great way to understand your current state. And also it has a self-care module. So it will give you daily tips, very simple, practical daily tips, which you can apply, and we'd love to hear your feedback and see how it's going. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Thanks, Saumya. Thank you.
Thank you so much.